All right, now we're going to start putting it all together. What we're going to do is we are going to create a texture set for a science fiction corridor. And of course, when I think of science fiction corridors, I go back to the classic of the Nostromo. And this is a hallway, a corridor, whatever you want to call it. Corridor and hallway are the same thing. Inside the spaceship Nostromo in the film Alien by Sir Ridley Scott, made in 1979. That was one of the most visually trend-setting films in science fiction of all time. Um, there is another visually trend-setting film of all time, also made by Ridley Scott, and that was 1982's film Blade Runner. If you watch anime and you watch anything that's cyberpunk in nature with a lot of cybernetics and whatnot, every anime that I've ever seen that has cyborgs and stuff like that in it, pretty much they built their city pretty much as an homage to the way Ridley Scott um, built Blade Runner, the city of Los Angeles in Blade Runner. If you watch Blade Runner and then you go watch Ghost in the Shell or Appleseed, I think that's it, or something else like that, you'll see a big similarity between the Tokyo in those cities and Los Angeles in Blade Runner. I'm sorry, the Tokyo in those movies and Los Angeles in Blade Runner. Anyhow, losing my voice, so I better shut up and do some Photoshop. What I want us to do, though, is I want us to look at what we're aiming for. Notice the multiple surfaces here. Here we've got that floor grating that I was telling you about. Here we've got just some metal, standard metal, in the floor bracing here, and all this machinery over here. The pipes. Here we've got some rust. Here we've got actually more of the floor grating. I just happen to know from watching the making of this movie that the floor is made out of the same metal grates as what is in the back of the walls here. Here we've actually got some leather. This is upholstered leather. This is metal. All of this is metal. Metal as well, just got a little bit more gloss to it. And so let's say we want to make something that looks like this. Now, we don't want to make something that looks just like it, but anyhow, we've already had that speech, so there's no sense in returning to it. So we'll notice that there are three areas to the corridor, plus the floor, otherwise known as the deck, and the overhead, the ceiling here. And I don't know what this stuff is over here. I think that's actually a toolbox from I don't know what it is. Anywho, so let's say that we're going to make basically 5 surfaces. We're going to make a deck, we're going to make an overhead, we're going to make a wall that has a vertical part in the center that's straight up and down, but at its top and bottom it has angled bits at 45 degrees. So what we're going to do is, you can just use the base textures themselves for the floor and the ceiling, but let's make a texture map in Photoshop that is usable, that has 3 different techniques on it. One for the lower part, one for the vertical middle part, and then one for the angled upper part. Alright, and how do I close there? Alright, can't type, can't use keyboard shortcuts. I am a mess. So let's go ahead and bring us up to Photoshop here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a document that is 800 by 900. Actually 800 by 1000 if I can get it to work and fit on the screen here. That was brilliant. 800 by 100. It's past my bedtime. Okay. Now that's just not working. I'll make mine just a little bit smaller here. I'll make mine 600 by 900 and see if that fits at 100%. Okay, there we go. Because I wanted to remain some of this aspect ratio. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give us a little bit of a template here. I want each part of this wall, and this is going to make a side of the wall, to be 300 pixels tall. So I'm just going to make my marquee tool. I'm going to drag out until I get a 600 by 300. I did make this 900, right? Yeah. Doesn't look right, but I will. A 300 by a 600 by 9. Let me just do that again. I'm fading fast. We want it to be 600 by 300. Math skills fading. And I'm just going to fill this with black. I'm going to select all. I'm going to cut. Now I'm going to paste. And see how that's in the center? So here's 300 up here, 300 here, and 300 here. And this is going to be the template that we're going to use. I'm just going to write some stuff up here. Top of wall. Middle of wall. All right. And these correspond to the Nostromo corridor that I just talked about. What we're going to do is we're going to have one texture set up here, another one down here, and then a third one in the middle. So you can do that stamped Death Star type metal right here. You can do some, I don't know, something along here, something else, and then something else up here. You can, deck plating or different, one of the three different bulkheads that we did. And then the next thing I want us to do, though, create some more layers here. Because we're just going to make a tribute to the Nostromo today. This is going to be a pipe that sticks out from the wall, which means it's going to have a serious drop shadow to it. That went well. So we're going to have two pipes. All right. So both of those are going to have some serious drop shadow. The distance is going to be crazy. And that'll make sense later on. But just picture that you're standing in the middle of the hallway. You're going down the hallway. You stop halfway down the hallway. You turn immediately to either your left or your right, 90 degrees, and now you're facing the wall. This is a template that will simulate the wall itself. Notice how I just brought this out just a little bit because see that part right there where Photoshop was kind of messing up and didn't bring the shadow all the way out to the edge. What I did was I went to transform, held the command key down. The option key down, and just widened it a little bit to get rid of that gap at the very end. That would have caused a seam to appear later on. And again, of course, we want to avoid that like the plague, which is what I think I've got right now. All right, so what we can do next is just start bringing in some of our other textures.